Shannon, what's your reaction to all the issues Westbrook raised yesterday?
Skip Bayless, you covered professional sport for 40 years.
Yeah.
In all of your 40 years, have you ever seen a more delusional, a more delusional athlete in your life than Russell Westbrook?
As God is my witness, that was going to be my opening remark back to you after you spoke. So you just stole my thunder in a good way. Thank you.
Skip, this is what the man said. He said, I think it's unfortunate, to be honest, because I've never had an issue with any of my coaches before. Westbrook said on Monday after his exit interview, I'm not sure what the issue was with me. I'm not sure why, but I really can't give you an answer to why we really never connected. How about this? Russ never had an issue with any of his other coaches because they never held you accountable for your terrible play. When you turn the ball over, they just stand on the sideline and clap. When you airball balls, they just stand on the sideline and clap. When you
Notably, Scotty Brooks,
yes,
whom the Lakers wanted as an assistant, and it didn't come to be. You know, it didn't quite work out in the end.
So Frankie V tries to hold you accountable, say, Russ, we can't turn the ball over. And we definitely can't turn the ball over in that situation. And let's try to find a better spot or a better situation where we can get the shots that if you want to take the shot, let us get back, get settled in first before you willy-nilly just take up any shots. And now because Frankie V was trying to hold you accountable, he didn't like you. You notice that, Skip? If you do this, if you got parents have kids, if one parent gives the kid everything you want, guess which kid the parent gonna gravitate towards, Skip? And that's what he did. He gravitated towards the coaches that let him run amok. Shoot as many bad shots as you want. Miss as many layups as you want. Turn the ball over as much as you want. Air ball anytime you want to. Frank Vogel said, no, we can't have that because you're putting us in a disadvantageous situation.
Yeah.
The man don't like me. Really? Now, Skip, he talking about the famous sources. I thought you said that stuff didn't bother you. You talk about, I go home, I got a beautiful wife, I got 3 beautiful kids, and you do. You said none of that stuff bothered you. The fans didn't bother you. Now, all of a sudden, you use that as an excuse. So either it bothers you or it doesn't. So were you lying then or are you lying now? Skip, he said, and then, because remember, he had no expectations. That's what he said. Now, I'm just going by what he said. He had no expectations coming into the season. He says, for the simple fact that last year he averaged a triple-double and this year he didn't, paraphrasing, he would say that was unsuccessful. He didn't mention anything about winning. Last year, Russ, you did make the playoffs. So you should have said, because I made the playoffs last year and we didn't make it this year, I should be upset. But point. He's upset because he didn't average a triple-double. Didn't care nothing about winning. And I'm so sick, I keep telling y'all, I'm tired of y'all. Russ is a Hall of Famer. When are they going to say Russ plays winning basketball? When are they going to say Russ plays smart basketball? Stop talking about he plays hard. We can see that he plays hard. But what good is a bull in the china shop if he breaking up stuff?
The bull plays hard, too.
Yes! That's what I don't get. Everybody Russ plays so hard. Y'all need to stop. This man is going to the Hall of Fame. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a top 75 player. All that is true. But I need y'all to say he's a top 75 smart player. He plays winning basketball. Man, I couldn't believe this man sitting up there saying that. And he's talking about, when they said Russ, AD and LeBron saying Russ being Russ, but you know that wasn't true. LeBron said, man, get this man up out of here. What he doesn't get, Russ, you've been on 4 teams in 4 years. That's what Russ being Russ has got you. 4 teams in 4 years for an All-NBA, former MVP, a first ballot Hall of Famer, top 75 player. 4 teams in 4 years, and you don't see anything that you can do different that can alleviate this situation. Therein lies his problem right there, Skip. No personal accountability. It's Frank Vogel's fault. It's the staff fault. The fans calling me Westbrook and saying this and fabricated stories by the media. It's somebody else's fault. Now, let's just Skip, I'm going to give him that. Everything you said, Russ, is true. Who's shooting that ball? Whether Frank Vogel, the media, or the fans. Who's turning that basketball over? Whether Frank Vogel, the media, or the fans. Who's airballing those shots? You, Frank Vogel, media, or fans. Accept some accountability for your horrible play for the lion's share of this year. I'm not saying you're totally responsible, but the mere fact that you don't want to accept any responsibility leaves me baffled. Man, Lord have
You got the Baptist minister going?
Skip, I'm running tent revival over here today. Gee, man, this man got me so I couldn't. Skip, I was sitting there listening to this man in amazement.
So was I.
I'm like, if this man really saying this, he's saying it. Sometimes, Skip, you be thinking, but you subconsciously, nobody can hear you. This man was saying that out loud. Man, Skip Bayless, go ahead, man.
Okay. To your initial point, I first started covering the National Basketball Association out here in Los Angeles, California, when I worked for the LA Times right out of college. This would have been 1977. I was covering the Los Angeles Lakers on occasion. It wasn't my primary beat, but I wrote a lot of stories about Kareem's Lakers, covered a number of games of Kareem's Lakers. In all my years of watching this sport, heck, of watching every sport very closely, I have never, ever seen a player as defiantly delusional as this player. And as I watched last night, mesmerized by the delusion, it teetered between funny and sad.
Yes.
Because at times it just gets flat out sad, like scary sad. Because this was the ultimate postseason finger point, blame, deflect.
Yeah.
This was pointing fingers at everything and everybody except the man in the mirror.
Yes.
And our only problem with Russ all year was he never owned an ounce of this.
Nothing.
Not one time, one word came out of his mouth about, I got to do better. I got to shoot it better. I got to be more careful with the basketball.
No, everybody else is allowed to take shots. Everybody else is allowed to turn the ball over.
I'm allowed, he said.
Yes.
I'm allowed to turn the ball over.
Yes.
Okay, just for the record, these are the statistics that Russ cannot argue out of. He led this league in turnovers all the way to the last 3 games in which he did not play.
Correct.
Trae Young continued to play because he needed to play, and he averaged 5 a game the last 3 games. So he had 15 turnovers in the last 3 to slightly surpass Russ as the overall turnover leader in the NBA.
Right.
But Russ finished second. What did we say? Soon after he was brought to LA, I said, he's led the league in turnovers 4 times, and he's finished second 4 other times. So now he's finished second 5 other times. 4 wins of turnovers, quote unquote, in 5 seconds. What else do we know? He finished dead last in 3-point shooting. He is the starting point guard for the Lakers. It just won't work.
Right.
If your starting point guard is your worst 3-point shooter, trust me, it will impact the scoreboard. Right. And if your starting point guard leads the league in turnovers for almost the whole year, it will impact the scoreboard. And if your starting point guard used to be a pretty good free throw shooter and now has plummeted to 67%, which is 3rd worst in the entire league, that will impact the scoreboard. Right. And I told you yesterday, my favorite sort of off-Broadway stat was that Russ missed 35% of his dunks. That means he made 65% of his, these are dunks. It was so bad that down the stretch, maybe post-All-Star break, I think he pretty much said, I'm not going to even try to dunk anymore because he has the worst hands I've ever seen on a point guard in pro or college basketball. I might even go to high school basketball.
Think about all the things that you mentioned that said he was bad at. Shooting the 3, shooting free throws, turning the ball over, and then he gets into it and he doesn't play defense.
And what was your thing about points in the paint?
Yeah, he had the worst field goal percentage of somebody that attempts at least 6 shots a game in the paint.
In the paint. Because Wilder's hands can't hit on the basketball.
So you named 4 or 5 things that he was horrible at, and then he got upset with Frank benching him in the ball game. How do you win?
Quick point of order. By every account that I read, Frank Vogel was the one that fought back against Rambis and Pelinka and maybe Genie.
Thank you.
He fought to keep Russ in the lineup as long as he could.
Yes.
I think he was actually Russ's biggest defender. And then Russ is saying, I'm not sure what his issue was with me. What are you talking about?
Well, you know what, Skip? If we had, like you said, if we had a 5-hour show, I would like to list 152 things what his issue was with you. But the fact of the matter is that you can't see any of the issues that might have arisen from your poor play lets me know that you're even more delusional than I previously thought. Because, Skip, he can't see anything. He can't see shooting less than 30%. He can't shooting 65% from the free throw line. He can't see turning the ball over at an enormous rate. He can't see why a coach would have an issue with said player. I'm Russ. None of my other coaches corrected me. It's like negative behavior, Skip. If your kid is bad at home, you send him to daycare. What you expect the kid to be on his best behavior? Because that's what it knows. Bad behavior. Corrected at home. His first coach didn't correct it. The second coach didn't correct it. Frank Vogel tried to rein some of it in. And then he said, well, Frank don't like me. Like the high school player, Skip. Man, I could have made it, but the coach didn't like me. He didn't like you not practicing. He didn't like you not coming to practice. He didn't like you not doing your schoolwork. That's what that was. He didn't like you. He didn't like the things that you were doing.
Okay. Finger point number 2, and this was even deeper water to me, was he was asked about both LeBron and AD saying all year, let Russ be Russ. And he said, yeah, they said that, but that wasn't true. Well, I think I'm interpreting that as a finger point
at LeBron and AD. Absolutely.
Like they wouldn't let me be me, and it was unfair to me. What are you talking about? LeBron went out of his way to try to figure out a way to get him involved.
Yes.
I thought.
Yes.
And I give Russ some credit because I thought he sacrificed some of his numbers to try to find a place in the offense. He just didn't fit. But it wasn't LeBron's fault, and it certainly wasn't AD's fault. AD was barely around.
You know LeBron James has had the ball in his hand for 18 years. He's led his team in assists all 18 years. So, Russ, what did you think? Nobody trusts you with the ball in your hands more than they trust LeBron with the ball in his hand.
Correct.
Who you think, only you, in your warped mind, think you are a better ball player, a better ball handler, a better decision maker than LeBron James. Only you, Russ.
But I do believe he thinks that.
Yes, no question.
But I think he thinks he's beyond Magic Johnson.
I think Skip, you can't convince me that Russ doesn't think he's the best player on the Lakers.
Agreed. So now he has to put it all off on source stories. Source stories?
He got to fight against those.
Made up source stories, he says. I have no idea even one about what he's talking about. And so I think it was Dave McMenamin asked him, please give us one example. Well, you know the examples. No, we don't. We don't know one of them. What are you talking about? Made up stories between me and Frank, me and the staff? I don't know one. I know Frank finally benched him because he was under fire from upstairs.
Yeah.
But it only lasted, it was twice. And Russ pouted and missed a game because of it. And then down the stretch, he played all the fourth quarter. So I don't know what made up stories. And remember, then he made a big push his 2/3 of the way through the season. After his wife got upset, she got upset with me for using Westbrook on Twitter. And then he talked about how the fans were using Westbrook, and it was so disrespectful to him and his family. And he said, I can't even bring my kids to games anymore. And I'm thinking, well, that's too bad, but that's your fault.
Yes, play better.
Yeah, just make some shots.
Skip, how many times have you think people have said, LeBrick? As a matter of fact, Brandon Ingram yelled LeBrick after they beat the Lakers in Staples that last game. A player yelled that. LeBron ain't going to the media talking about, man, I can't bring the kids, Savannah and Zuri, they can't even come to the game.
I didn't hear that about Brandon.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Good for him.
But I'm just saying, Skip, come on, bro. Play better. All you have to do is play better, and this would have went away. But guess what? You didn't play better. And so it's not going to go away just because you're from L.A., you're a homegrown product. Just because something is homegrown, Skip, that don't mean I got to purchase it just because it's grown in the state. It better be good. There's one on the internet right now that's worse than that one, Skip, with him just dribbling the ball and he tried to pat it between his legs like Kyrie and dribble the ball smooth up out of bounds, and then he dives on the scorer's table trying to save it. I mean, and he talking about he doesn't understand. But here's the thing, Skip. He said he didn't know. He's not sure what the issue was with Frank Vogel. So you just figured out that he had an issue after the press conference? So was there something going on? Because he seemed to be speaking about the sources, talking about something going on with him and Frank during the season. Yet he comes out here and said Frank didn't like it. So where was the lie?
Don't know. Great question. All I saw was air balls.
Guys,
Never.
Russ finished this
Never.
season averaging 18.5 points, one of his lowest career totals of all time.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.